You know, it takes a lot to make a Hollywood blockbuster. You need an all-star cast, you need incredible effects, but more than anything, you need good writing. And there are two movies that came out recently that kind of identify where good writing can elevate something that doesn't really have the core ingredients to be successful, or it can detract from something that does. The examples I want to give are Black Panther and Black Adam. And let's have a chat about that right now. Hi guys, it's me, and I'm going to make some videos coming up about storytelling, because I think that's really important. And the more I've been watching movies and TV shows and stuff recently, I realize that storytelling seems to be something people aren't focusing on, and it's causing real problems. And two examples that I can give in recent history are Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, and Black Adam. They're both fairly recent movies, and I didn't make review videos about them because I try not to make review videos about stuff I don't love. I think that's half the fun of it. If you make a review video about something you love, it's really cool, and it's really easy to just go and talk about it and go nuts. But when you start to get critical about stuff, it's not so fun, and I don't want to be considered like a negative person. But I will have to admit, I went to the cinema with my 11-year-old to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I was kind of underwhelmed. I'll talk about that in a sec. And just recently we rented video on demand Black Adam, which my eldest had gone to see in the cinema. I didn't myself. And it was weird because I was prepared to be underwhelmed, but I ended up kind of liking it. But both movies, to me, identified how writing is really, really an intrinsic and important part of making something successful. And Black Panther, I think, had really, really strong writing that elevated it, whereas Black Adam, I think, had some really strong parts to it. But ultimately, the writing dragged it down, and that's why it's not as successful as we had all hoped it would be. But let's talk about each movie individually. So, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It's the second Black Panther movie. And I was really excited to see this one. I haven't been excited for Marvel stuff for a while. I'll admit, I didn't go to the movies to see the Eternals. And, you know, I didn't watch Moon Knight. And I did watch She-Hulk, and I really liked that. But, you know, I was excited to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever because the original Black Panther, I think, it might not be my favourite, but I personally think it is the best MCU movie. It's the best Marvel movie. I think it's amazing. I think it is, on its own, an iconic movie. I think it's one of the most important movies of the 21st century. I love it. I love everything about it. I think that Ryan Coogler, I think that's his name, did an amazing job. It had Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther was brilliant. Oh, Michael B. Johnson, I think, as Killmonger, the best Marvel villain ever. The one where you're like, it's kind of low-key making a lot of sense. I mean, it was wonderful. And I think Black Panther, to me, just as an intellectual property, I think is amazing. I really do think it is massively culturally important. It is, you know, I'm very white to be making statements like this, but to me, it is like an African-American Arthurian legend. And I think that is something that, just the way America exists, you know, America during its formative years stole Africans from their homeland, took them to America, erased their cultural identity. And that's, you know, and that's difficult. Growing up being African American, you have, oh, you're descended from slaves maybe, and that's it. You don't have the roots back to Africa, which is where your people came from, a land of warriors and kings. And then Black Panther and the whole idea of Wakanda, I mean, that's amazing. And the movie universe, Black Panther and Wakanda, I loved because it was very carefully created and designed to be representative of all sorts of different real-life cultures from all over Africa, and this beautiful civilization with these noble people. It was just a wonderful, wonderful concept to see brought to life in the original Black Panther movie, and I think it is an amazing, amazing movie. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, I wanted so hard to love it, and I didn't. And I didn't love it because of any negative thing to do with the movie. In fact, I think I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would because it was such a well-written movie. But at the end of the day, the problem was you're making a Black Panther 2 and you don't have Black Panther in it. You've got this amazing character and this amazing star, Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately passed away. And I think they did the right thing by honoring him, by not like recasting that role. But it was immensely difficult to make a Black Panther movie without Black Panther. It'd be like making a Captain America movie without Captain America. It's difficult. And there were so many well-written elements to Black Panther Wakanda Forever. There were so many well-written scenes. I thought certain characters just really, really shined. But in the end, it felt kind of rickety. And I understand the immense pressure that Ryan Coogler was faced with. The fact it's like, you've got to make this movie happen because there is the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, you know, this movie and this movie and this movie depend on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So it had to happen. The show had to go on. And he did a wonderful job pulling together something that was quite tight, but it was kind of hollow because you're missing this part you can't replace. And I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever did as good a job as it was possible to do to make that movie work. And it was largely just down to some really, really strong writing. Let's move over to Black Adam. On the other hand, Black Adam is part of the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, which has been a difficult proposition. I really like, you know, the Snyderverse. You know, I might not have liked Man of Steel as a movie, but I thought Henry Cavill was a brilliant Superman. I kind of like Batman versus Superman. Kind of like the Justice League. I really liked the Snyder cut of the Justice League, that 4-hour-long thing. That was dope. That was brilliant. That was really well written all the way through. Even the airplane had its own character arc. So, yeah, I was kind of intrigued by Black Adam because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson went in there and he made it like, I'm going to revitalize the DCEU. He brought Henry Cavill back to be Superman in a final credits scene. I was stoked. I was all for it. And I went in and I didn't hate the movie, and there were certain elements that I thought were really strong. I thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was brilliant in it, and I can't even say it's badly written. It's not badly written because the whole idea of, you know, his son giving him the power. Spoiler alert, by the way. To be Black Adam, when you think for the rest of the movie that actually it's the son who's got this power. That was a really nicely done twist, and it was sold with a lot of gravitas by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I thought he brought his huge, immense star power to this movie. And with him and Pierce Brosnan together, you know, it kept it afloat. But the writing, I don't think was good at all in general. It started off with a flashback and some lore building. It's like, many thousands of years ago, there was this substance called Eternium, and there was this guy, blah, 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 who wanted to get the Eternium, and he made everyone slaves. And it's like, it's the worst way you can start a movie. Honestly, they just need to, that trope of like starting off with all this lore building is, to me, it's an automatic signal that it's going to be a bad movie. It's like the Eternals. It's like, okay, if you're going to have to give me 5 minutes of exposition before we even meet the main character, I'm not into this. And so that was, with Black Adam, that was the first obstacle that I came across. And then it was just a really derivative movie. I mean, when Black Adam emerges and he has the fight scene with all these evil guys and it's all done in slow motion, I'm like, oh, I remember. I love this bit in X-Men Days of Future Past and an X-Men Apocalypse or whatever. Yeah, this was great. And they're just doing it again. They're just 100% taking this scene from those X-Men movies and just redoing it with Black Adam. And it was incredibly derivative. And then they had the scene with the Justice Society or something, and they emerge from a mansion, and the lawns pull back, and this jet fighter comes out and flies off, and I'm like, oh, I love that bit in the X-Men. That was brilliant. Yeah, the original X-Men, the Bryan Singer ones, brilliant. Bring it on, yeah. And then I'm like, this whole movie, 30% of it is just lifted from the X-Men. And then you had this cast of the Justice Society, and it's like Hawkman. It's like, oh, Hawkman, I'm aware that he exists. Dr. Fate, yeah. I think I've seen a picture of you on Google somewhere, and it was Pierce Brosnan, and I'm there for Pierce Brosnan, whatever. And then you had the Atom Smasher, and I'm like, oh. To me, the problem was they had these like also run superheroes in there. It was kind of derivative of the whole DC Legends Tomorrow Arrowverse Flash show that they got in the CW. It was like I wasn't against it, but I'm like, this is not, none of this is original. You've got like, let's just pull the X-Men out of here, and then we'll get some DC characters in the kind of like Arrowverse mold, and we'll squish them together, and we'll put them in a story, and we'll have some jokes in there. It'll be fun. And it was just badly written. It wasn't even badly written. It was just like not written. And I was surprised how much I enjoyed the movie overall. And I think part of that was just the fact that Dwayne The Rock Johnson brings such presence to everything he does. I think it did a good job. But the writing really, it took all of these ingredients that could have worked and diluted them and made them worse. So interesting. Black Panther, the writing elevated it. Black Adam, the writing dragged it down. And I think this is something that's indicative in Hollywood at the moment. Is like bad writing. People are moving away from the whole idea of story. And you look at some of the movies that have just been disappointing recently. You look at the upcoming movies that people are worried are going to be disappointing. For me, it's Indiana Jones 5. I'm like, please don't screw this up. Please don't screw this up. And then you hear all these rumors and you're like, oh my God, you're going to screw things up. And it's because people focus so much on like the spectacles, and you've got to have this bit in there. They don't focus on the characters and the motivations of the characters. That's what Ryan Coogler did so well in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I feel really bad that he didn't have the opportunity to make that movie what it could have been. That's that's one of those things. But it just really goes to show that this is why Marvel, I think, even though they had a wobbly patch in this phase 4 or whatever, at the end of the day, they've got it where it counts in terms of being able to create characters you end up caring about. Whereas that's the problem with the DCEU is there's so much chopping and changing. They don't commit to anything. You don't know who your Superman's going to be. You don't know who your Batman's going to be. It's difficult to make an emotional investment in that universe when it just gets taken away from you. And the news that Henry Cavill was out as Superman after I'd just seen him in Black Adam was like, oh, are you kidding me? And even though I love James Gunn, I think he's a wonderful director, him coming in to head up DC, I'm still like, you know what? I was really there for a little while, guys. And I really believed in like Ben Affleck as Batman and Henry Cavill as Superman. Gal Gadot was born to play Wonder Woman, and then you just take it away from me for stupid reasons. So yeah, the fact that Marvel are willing to commit to things and continue to commit to things even if people push back against them is where they rise as compared to DC. You seem to, they don't really make these commitments. They bow to fan pressure, and then they just let people in the boardroom decide what's going to happen. And poor sods who are writers have to like sew these things together into some kind of like Frankenstein creation. I don't know. It's a real pity, but hopefully James Gunn, as he takes the reins of the DC universe, is going to focus on storytelling and characters. And if he wants to make a cinematic universe that spans 10 years, you've got to commit to it. You have got to make decisions that you might then second guess, but you've got to commit to them. And then you've got to make them pay off in the future. And to their credit, this is where Star Wars, part of the Disney thing, has been doing such a great job. I mean, there are certain things that people pushed back against, like the prequels. Originally, everyone hated the prequels and used to joke about them. And then they had the Obi-Wan Kenobi show where it kind of paid them off. And you've got all these other shows where they stick to and commit to the choices they've made, and eventually things come right. It's commitment that you really, really need to make a cinematic universe work. And that's what DC misses. So, yeah. It's interesting. I feel that commitment and that writing and that commitment to telling the stories of the characters and explaining their motivations, that is the secret sauce that Marvel has and DC doesn't, and it'll be, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. But you know, the DC universe seems dead to me at the moment. There's nothing coming up. Everything's getting cancelled. Whereas the Marvel universe, you know, they seem to be adjusting to the feedback they got, but still committed to the things they got right. And I'm still excited about the Marvel universe as it rolls out, and I wish I could say the same about DC. So those are just my little rants, my little thoughts about Black Adam versus Black Panther. But I'd be interested to see what you think. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be back with another video at some point in the future. Ciao. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got the link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.